fan. That's right there on ESPNPC.com. Scroll down and click that Tiger TV logo. We are sitting inside the Kramer Studios. Tomorrow will be Kramer Day. We're excited about that. Also got a pretty cool guest on tomorrow at the, I want to say it's the top of the hour at 12 p.m. our time. We're going to have the Secretary of the PGA of America.
Wow.
He's going to be on the station with us. His name is Nathan Charnes. He's the GM at Wingham Country Club, but he's also the Secretary of the PGA of America, who means he will be in line to be the president of the PGA of America here in about, I think, 5 or 6 years, depending on how long those terms last. So I'm excited to ask him some questions tomorrow, not only about the PGA Championship, but about the ball rollback, the LIV Tour.
Yeah.
What's the initiatives that the PGA of America's got coming up over the next 10 years? I know one of their big things is the PGA Frisco out there in Texas, that huge compound and facility that's just absolutely wonderful. Again, we are sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can visit them over there on 23rd Street. I know you can just drive down and see that giant Kramer sign, but the physical address is 2251 West 23rd Street in Panama City. You can give the dealership a call at 850-250-1403, or you can give Kramer Marine and Outdoor a call at 850-851-0453. They are a Yamaha outboard full-line dealer with Yamaha Master Certified mechanics on staff, as well as selling both used and new Seabourn, Spider, Sundance, which are all part of the CRI family boats. They're also a Suzuki motor dealer as well, so all the same things you can get done there. The dealership has tons of new vehicles in stock, way more than they had the last several years, starting to get some of those new awesome trucks in that I don't know if you've ever been in one of those new trucks, Jay, but those entertainment systems in there, you can't even really talk about it. It's just crazy. You go in there and you got this giant iPad, and I feel like all you got to do is punch a bunch of buttons, and your truck will take you to wherever you got to go.
Yeah. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to, because I may take the leap and get the new one. But yeah, that just sounds amazing.
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
They got some great vehicles in there, and then you can also trade your vehicle in as that used car market is still very high in demand. So a lot of trade-in values are still very, very high, and of course they sell your tires at cost right there at Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick and GMC. Don't forget about our good friends Chuck Tucker and all the great crew at the South Oak Title and Closing locations. We have 4 here across the Florida Panhandle, including one in 30A, Destin, Panama City Beach, as well as Lynn Haven. I know Beth was at the Lynn Haven office last night about 5 o'clock. Appreciate them closing that one of her deals, and kudos to Beach House Sales and Development. They've been on fire lately,
awesome.
and it's not just Beth, it's all the agents getting stuff under contract, closing big deals. Just a very powerful group of women that I'm blessed to be quote unquote a part of, as I'm kind of on staff. I'm like the bookkeeper and the head cheerleader for their particular group, and they're doing a great job. So
speaking of, Ryan, I know Jerry Springer had his final thoughts, back
I don't know where we're going with this.
And so
rest in peace, Jerry.
Rest in peace, Jerry. But why is it that male sports have cheerleaders and women's sports don't have cheerleaders? I don't understand.
That's a good question. I want to say basketball does have cheerleaders, but I'm not 100% on that. That's a good question. If you got some insight on that, give us a call. The phone lines are always open. It's 850-215-6290. I think there's some sports where it does cross over, but obviously football being a male-dominated sport, the cheerleaders have always kind of been a big part of that on the entertainment side.
Just like I said,
definitely starting to become a little bit more diverse these days.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Ironically, I was on the Powder Puff cheerleading team in my high school, and which was a lot of fun. Powder Puff, the girl athletes play the football games, and the guys are the cheerleaders. And myself and another gentleman, he was about 6'3", and at the time I was probably 5'10", and and ourselves, I would go up on his shoulders with this move that they taught us, and we'd just be towering over everybody else.
You have a picture or video.
I've got to look, but yeah, I'm sure there's something floating around. This is obviously before the times of social media, but that was a lot of fun being part of the Powder Puff there up in Dirty Jers, where I grew up in high school. Don't forget about the Bay Point Billfish Invitational. It's getting closer every day. A lot of stuff going on out on the property, getting ready for this thing. It happens in 42 days. Kicks off there on June 27th with the cruise sponsor Dock Party. June 28th, we have our Bay Point Golf Scramble. We've got so many teams signed up for that, and starting to kind of get the process of team names and all that getting going, because shoot, it's almost a month away, which is pretty crazy. That tournament registration kicks in that same afternoon. You got your mandatory captain's meeting, captain's banquet, and the big first public part of the Bay Point Billfish Open is that tournament kickoff dock walk. That's from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. there on Wednesday night with a concert right there across from the marina in the big open area across from the clubhouse. Have some different concerts going on, part of the Bay Point Billfish Open. And then Thursday is when it all gets started. Those boats will be heading out there to the Gulf, 9 a.m. They parade out of the marina through the pass out to the Gulf, and then 10 o'clock that flare gets shot off and everybody's beelining out there, getting past the shelf, getting 175, 200 miles out offshore, trying to catch that state record blue marlin, which will win you what, Jay?
$2.5 million.
$2.5 million. And David got it right without even any practice on Monday. I was very proud of him.
One try, baby. One try.
He's officially 100% on the season. Your average is getting better. I want to say it's getting closer to like 750.
To make a few mistakes first before, you know.
You got to keep the people honest.
That's right.
Everybody can't. I mean, you can't let everybody know you're perfect.
That's right.
You're just trying to keep the common people like myself feeling better.
Absolutely.
And I like learning from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, there you go. See, it's a win-win around here everywhere. So, yes, you can go out and catch that $2.5 million blue marlin. If you do that, if you break that state record, which, I mean, I think it's only like, I want to say the record was 1,046. All you got to do is hit 1,047.
Yeah, that's it.
Just don't put any lead weights in that billfish. That'll get you literally thrown in jail.
It's like checking those hands with them pitchers right now.
That's right.
Man. I mean,
that's right.
You know, like
Liam asked me in the car yesterday on the way home from school. He said, "What's pine tar?" Which is not legal anymore, right? They can't put that. Can they still put that on their bats?
I think they can still put it on their bats. I'll have to double check that.
Because I didn't know the answer for him. I was like, I don't know if they still do it or not, because you put it at the bottom of the barrel of the bat, get your hand nice and sticky for that grip. He was like, what's pine tar? I was like, don't worry about it, buddy. Don't worry about it. But yeah, getting back to that billfish tournament, it kicks off. All the anglers will be heading out to the Gulf there on Thursday, June 29th. Another concert that night. The scales will officially open the next day, Friday at 4 p.m., as we'll start having some of the boats coming in with maybe some huge catches that they got early on. Those scales will again open up on Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. with the awards ceremony finishing the whole tournament up at 10:30 on Sunday, July 2nd. So I know everybody out at Bay Point, including all the staff at the golf club, we're excited about the Bay Point Billfish Open. It's been since 2012 since the tournament has happened. So I think it's going to be huge. A lot of people coming out. Just going to be great for our area, great for Bay Point, and a lot of people that still live here were here when it was going on. So a lot of nostalgia and those kind of things with that particular golf tournament. Last night, the Arnold and Wakulla softball game was actually postponed to tonight. So hopefully the Arnold, that gives the Lady Marlin varsity softball team one more opportunity to get ready for this game. It seems like the softball's taken a little bit longer than the baseball. This is just the regional semifinal game. So they won their first game last week. Now they have to travel to Wakulla. And then it's going on as we speak. If this is correct on Max Preps, which I think it is, Chipley is actually up 1-0 in the bottom of the eighth, which is exciting. They're down there at the state semifinal in Fort Myers. Wow. I thought they only played 7 innings, but maybe in the state finals they played the full 9-inning game. I'm not sure.
What's the score right now?
It's according to Max Preps, it's 1-0 Chipley in the bottom of the eighth. Well, no, that would make sense. They probably went into extra innings.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. They went into extra innings. Chipley scored at the top of the eighth, and now Newberry is batting for a chance to either force another extra inning or try to win the game. Or if they don't score, Chipley's going to be going on to the state final. So if you're listening up in Chipley, give us a call and tell us about this game if you're following it along. But again, I see it bottom of the eighth inning, 1-0 the Chipley Tigers. So hopefully they can hold on. What a battle!
Let's go Tigers.
Tigers. Yeah. The Chipley Tigers, would love to see somebody within our listening area, one of our local high schools, bring back home a state championship. And I know Chipley is in 1A, so we'll keep following that here as the show goes on. And
then following that game, Holmes County is going to be playing as well. So if Holmes County wins, it'll be Chipley versus Holmes County. That'll be great. Both of those
they should just
schools in our listening
move it
area.
all the way back up here. That would be awesome. Yeah. Good for them in the 1A baseball state semifinals game. we'll keep it. Was that one tonight, David? Coming up, probably.
It'll be following. I think
Okay,
it's
so right after
12 Eastern.
Okay. So sweet. We might be able to report on that as well. Speaking of reporting on scores, want to jump back into the men's NCAA regionals as the third and final round is underway as we speak. Tough scoring yesterday for Florida State in that Morgan Hill regional out there at the Institute Golf Club, but they're still in a great spot. The good news is they're still second place, although they're +1 on their round today, +2 overall. Mississippi State is only 2 strokes ahead at even par, and then you have BYU at +5, currently holding down that third position, followed by Baylor and Pepperdine at +6 and +7 respectively. I think this golf course yesterday, everybody had a pretty good round that first round, but yesterday, man, the scores were way higher. Mississippi State especially scored 23 strokes higher in round 2 than they did in round 1. Wow. I don't know. I looked at the weather. The weather looked fine. It must have been a golf course setup or something like that made some things different. One of the cool, exciting news, Luke Clanton, which is a name we probably haven't talked about. Mm-hmm. He's a freshman at Florida State. He's currently leading this NCAA regional. He's tied at 4 under par with Maximilian Steinlechner from NC State. I think I might have got that right.
You did.
But so, you've got some juniors and some other people on Florida State that have been playing in regionals and winning tournaments, and it's awesome to see, the freshman Luke kind of stepping up when his team really needs him. There's only 10 people under par in this particular regional, which I think is really a testament to how difficult this golf course is.
And this is the place out on the West Coast where you have to have a secret handshake to get in.
I think you need a little more than a secret handshake. It's a secret handshake and probably at least $20 million in your bank account.
Okay, I got you.
It's called the Institute Golf Club. Very, very high-end private facility. Nobody really knows anything about it.
Yeah.
I think Coach Jones was the one that says they do, that's that 10 or 12 rounds a day kind of golf course where it just exists if people want to come out and bring clients.
I can't wait to hear from him on, kind of.
Yeah, I want to hear about this golf course, and we'll hopefully have him on the show next week in between if they can finish out like they're doing, going a bid back to Greyhawk out there in Arizona to hopefully win a national championship. Big contrast with some of these regionals. I mean, Mississippi State's leading this regional at even par. Another difficult regional, which is up there at the Auburn University Club, which I don't know if you've ever played there, Jay.
I have.
It's not an easy golf course. No. Very hilly, very challenging. But Auburn's actually leading, they're tied for first. So they're leading. They're tied for first right now in that regional, which they're hosting. They're +1 for the tournament. So again, a little tougher on these two regionals that we're talking about. Chattanooga's tied with Auburn, both at +1, and then number 1 ranked men's golf team in the country, Vanderbilt, is +2 in third place. The Ohio State University, who's ranked 25th in the country, is at +10, and then Indiana and Colorado State round out the top 5, both now tied at +10. So a lot to pay attention to. We'll be looking at it through the duration of the show. Got to give your Bulldogs and some other SEC schools a shout out. The Georgia Bulldogs just absolutely kicking butt in the Eagle Eye Golf Club regional up there in Bath, Michigan. They're 25 under par. Georgia's the 34th ranked team in the country. 25 under par, even though they're +3 on their round so far today, about halfway through their round. But holding down first place, a close second place, Illinois, who's always there, Mike Small, great PGA member, really good player. He's been with Illinois for a long time and does a wonderful job. They're ranked 3 in the country. They're currently at 23 under par, -5 on their round today. But huge drop off to the third, two teams tied at third. You've got Texas at -10 and Oregon at -10. That's the 15th and 22nd ranked teams in the country.
That's Casey Martin's team, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Out there at Oregon, right?
Yeah. Okay, I was curious.
I would love to see what their golf uniforms look like. I'm sure they're pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And then shout out to the University of Florida holding down by 1 stroke right now that coveted 5th position. Florida's ranked 10th in the country on the men's golf side. They're currently -7 7, 3 under on their round today, but they're being chased very closely by Kansas State, who's 6 under, and Michigan State, who's 2 under. And like we talk about with these regionals, I mean, you're counting 4 out of your top 5 scores each day.
Yeah.
So it's not for the whole tournament. It's each round building up to that cumulative score. You've got Alabama, another SEC team who's leading the Norman, Oklahoma regional hosted by Oklahoma, which is where University of Oklahoma is right there in Norman. They're currently 22 under par, tied with Oklahoma for first at 22 under par. Texas Tech's holding down that third spot at 20 under par. Colorado at 18 under par, which is interesting. And then UNF. Big shout out to Braden Masker, who's stopped by the studio yesterday. Yeah. He's a soccer player for North Florida. He's on the men's team, and he does a wonderful job. They're currently tied for 5th. Got a 5-stroke lead over Louisville at the moment. It's usually 6-stroke lead now. They just moved up a stroke, and Alabama's now back down to 21 with Oklahoma at 19 under par. And Alabama's number 17th. That's Jay Sewell, I believe, is the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide's golf team. A lot of Sewell families big in golf, especially in the Aiken-Augusta area.
Well, and then Ryan Hibble's over at Oklahoma, and I remember playing junior golf with him. He's a Georgia boy. He was under Chris Hack there at Georgia for quite some time. Took that Oklahoma job, and I mean Oklahoma's been great ever since. So he probably learned a lot from Chris. And anytime Ryan had a club in his hand back in the day, man, he was unbeatable. Guy could hit the ball. So yeah.
Sounds like he had a good mental game too. If he kind of had that advantage over everybody.
Absolutely.
But a couple other SEC, ACC teams trying to make that coveted top 5 in the Norman, Oklahoma regional. You got LSU at -10. They're currently 6 strokes back of that 5th position. Duke's at -9, Ole Miss -6, and then Wake Forest, a little surprising, at -2. Wake Forest coached by Jerry Haas, Jay Haas's brother.
Okay.
They always have a really good men's and women's team. When I was over with Watersound Club, we had that Camp Creek Seminole Invitational, and Florida State and Wake Forest went to a playoff in that inaugural event, and man, that was awesome.
Man.
You felt bad for Wake Forest because they had I think it was either a 2-stroke lead or a 1-stroke lead, and the kid in the last group for Wake Forest finishing up on 18. I want to say it was a 2-stroke lead because he made a double on 18, and they ended up tying. So Florida State thought that they were out, and Wake Forest won, and then they came back in, and they had to do this playoff where they're all playing at one time and counting all the scores. So being a rules official,
that's just a one-hole playoff.
Yeah, one-hole playoff, and because when you're counting all 10 scores, the likelihood of it being tied is pretty. But Florida State ended up winning well. They had a good hole on that. Was when they had John Pock and Benson Norman and all those guys.
Man,
really a lot of fun to watch. But
sounds like some drama right there.
Oh, there was a lot of drama. And Wake Forest is always there. So interesting to see them, just outside of that cut line, but a lot of golf left in most of these regionals. The Las Vegas regional is Stanford is 46 under par currently. Reminds me a little bit of that women's team. And then in the Salem regional, Georgia Tech is leading that one at 46 under par. So it just shows the contrast in some of these particular golf courses that they're playing with the Auburn University Club, the Institute Golf Club. The teams are currently leading that are even par, where you've got 20s under par, 40s under par for these other regionals. So we'll keep you updated throughout the program on how FSU and all these other SEC, ACC schools are doing as they make bids to head back to Grayhawk Country Club out there in Scottsdale, Arizona to compete for the national championship. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Don't forget, there's 3 great local shows. You got the Coach James Hale Show from 7 to 9 every morning. Then you can join us from 11 to 1 on the Inside Drive. And then every 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, you've got the afternoon underdogs, including tonight. They'll be at Dave & Buster's, which means half-price games, half-price cocktails. Go by and see them, and maybe you'll get some free ESPN or Dave & Buster's swag. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. Hi, this is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Join me every Friday at 4:20 during the afternoon underdogs. It's accurate, detailed content from local anglers, plus fishing updates on Saturday and Sunday morning right when you hit the water. Advice and stories from local anglers. Tune into the Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Fishing Report, exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. This afternoon and evening, there will be a gentle breeze out of the west-southwest, very light showers, and a likelihood of thunderstorms, and 82. Light rain and a chance of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 71. Tomorrow, possibility of thunderstorms throughout the day with some sun in the evening and a high of 82. The same at 82 Friday, and we'll have some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer. We are located on 2241 East Baldwin Road, Panama City. Shopping for an 8-foot to 16-foot in width or 10-foot to 60-foot in length. Cabin, garage, portable building, whatever the needs are. Remember, at Stormore, we can insulate our buildings. We can put electric on, thermal windows, transom dormers. There's so much we can do. Stormore Portable Buildings, 2241 East Baldwin Road.
We're starting fresh.
Fresh new start.
Locally sourced, Farm to Radio. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is live and local. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. On ESPN Northwest Florida.
Jay, I'm just going to let you sing this one and you bring us in with that one.
That's what I played it for with OJ, baby.
It was perfect. Where'd that devil go down?
That Georgia.
That's right. He was looking for something to steal.
That's right.
I don't know what it was, but it was something good.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm Ryan Mulvey, joined by Jay Henley, our Director of Instruction out there at Bay Point Golf Club. We've been talking a lot about college golf in that last segment. What we're excited about coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Keith Fleming. He is a regular contributor on the Inside Drive here. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of Tube Off the Tee, which, Jay, last night we got to hang out with
That was
with
cool.
Alan and Keith for a little over an hour, just talking betting, talking PGA Championship, and just a lot of good fun. So make sure if you want to check out that podcast last night, you can just check out Twitter and go to @KeithFleming, or I tweeted it on my Twitter account because I'm trying to get that going a little bit more. That's @RyanMulvey85, and you can listen to all of our great insight. We did a fun little snake draft where we got to pick whoever we wanted to, and maybe when you might have to be gone by then when Keith comes on, or maybe you can be there for like the first 5 minutes or so. We can recap the teams real fast and talk about some of your very, very bold picks that could end up going well.
Very well.
Should-took.
Yeah, you don't know him now, but you may by the end of the weekend. So we'll see.
Let's hope so.
We'll see.
Let's hope so. Nothing like picking a PGA professional in the PGA Championship to win the whole thing.
But Keith is batting 1,000 right now. I don't want to, jinx him by anything, any means. But yeah, I'm curious to see what he's got to talk about at noon.
He better keep batting 1,000, because last night after that podcast, I went into DraftKings, my Yahoo one that I do with some friends, went into my betting stuff.
Yeah.
Did the big pool that this one guy does for the whole country. I kind of used a lot of those picks and made it happen. So hopefully this isn't the week that we flop on those picks, but the PGA Championships, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and he knows this stuff when it comes to the courses and the players and all that jazz.
Spieth's name was never mentioned.
I know.
I know,
the wrist injury, nobody really knows where he stands on that. And, anytime you're talking about a wrist injury in golf and then you're going and playing in a major championship where, in this particular major championship, the rough is extremely thick. You go in there trying to hack one out, you tweak that wrist a little bit. So I think everybody, because I thought about that when we were on the podcast, because he was in there. He's still, I want to say, top 20 odds to win the tournament. But yeah, I think just that withdrawal last week.
I think his wrist action or his wrist, why he's so got something going wrong with his wrist is the action that he's got up top. His little pre-shot routine,
Yeah,
right?
and he changed that not too long ago, didn't he? That's like his new version of his swing?
Yeah. So I attribute the pre-shot routine to the wrist injury, in my opinion. Could be, I don't know, but he throws it from the top. I just don't get it.
He does. That's so hard.
Yeah.
I would make so many mistakes trying to do that.
I would too.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyways.
Tell our listeners what you mean by throwing it at the top.
Yeah, well, the arms just get disconnected from your body, and you're casting, you're fishing. You're basically casting a reeling rod out there. But
I don't know how he squares the club face.
I don't either. I mean, it's
he gets it back though, and that's like we talk about. It's all that matters is whatever you do leading up to that impact area between 9 and 3 doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. Now, what you do in that area makes it either more difficult or easier to get that club face square back through impact.
But we talked about it with Keith the other day. Keith hits the ball straight, and his divots are going left. But like what you said, the face and the path are, it's dead on. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, but the divot obviously tells a big part of the story with your path, but then you've got face angle and all that jazz too, and that's why TrackMan and Flight Scope and those things are so important when you're really trying to, as a high-level golfer, trying to dial in that impact area. You get to see what everything you're doing, how you're moving, if you're shallow, if you're deep, if you're coming from left, coming from right, what that face angle is. It gets real complex, just with any sport.
Yeah, it does.
Any sport, you can really dial it down, and sometimes you get a little too much into it, and field players have a tendency sometimes to do better when it comes to the high pressure situations, because then you're not thinking about that technical stuff quite as much.
What's your thoughts on Dave not even seeing the golf course at this point? Like, he doesn't have a practice round going. He's fresh off the win from last week. I mean, what's your take on that?
It reminds me a little bit about my own self.
Yeah.
When I go play somewhere, or even when we play golf at Bay Point, obviously I've seen the course before, but you just come out of the office, throw the clubs on the back of the cart, roll up to the first tee, swing the orange whip a couple times, and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But I think he's, I could see him kind of being like, all right, my swing's in a good place. I've played this golf course before. I've played it in the 2013 PGA Championship. So he's got knowledge of the facility, although it has been renovated back in 2019. So I think maybe he's just resting up and hitting a lot of balls and putting and working in the short game areas. But yeah, I guess we'll see if that strategy
His mental game to me is very strong. I mean, if you ever listen to him talk, I mean, he actually envisions himself like holding the trophy. He talked about that, and he would be somebody to watch this week as well. But
I remember too when he won that PGA Championship at Whistling Straits, hearing him talk about visualization. He would stand behind that ball and rock a little bit, and until he had that visual moment of what he was trying to do, then he'd move in and hit that ball, and it sure did pay off in that golf tournament.
He closes his eyes and just visualize. I talk about painting from a blank canvas. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's got a blank canvas. He's looking. He's drawing lines, and it's pretty cool. It's an art for sure. So.
Completely different sport. Did you catch any of that Lakers Nuggets game last night after our podcast?
I did. I mean, man, the Lakers came back from 20-something down
They were kind of down like right around 20 points the majority of that game. Obviously, Denver got out to a real hot start, and the Lakers kind of caught back up. But we're kind of maintaining that 20-ish point lead mainly through the third quarter going into the fourth. And then about 2 or 3 minutes into that fourth quarter, the Lakers got it within 10. And kept it right about there. Denver stretched it out with 5 minutes to go to a 12-point lead, and then all of a sudden Denver only had a 4-point lead with 3 minutes to go in that game. But they got it done, and that's all that mattered. Jokic had a phenomenal game with a triple-double. I want to say he had, I think it was 31 points, 21 rebounds, and 14 assists.
Yeah.
He really kind of put the team on the back in this one, which you kind of expected. And, he doesn't do it in a very flashy manner.
Right.
He's one of those guys. He's just a big guy. He knows how to bring you down low. He shoots the ball well, and he's just a great passer. That really came out last night.
It's almost like he shoots the ball ball over his right shoulder a bit, or at least that long three that he had last night. I mean, it's a very interesting way of tossing the basketball.
Yeah,
for sure.
when he dropped that three at the end of the third quarter, I thought that was going to certainly be the exclamation point.
Oh, yeah.
But a little surprising, playing at altitude, the Lakers kind of came back there. I mean, Anthony Davis had a great game, scored 40 points, hit that cover that we were talking about with Alan when we were talking yesterday on the show. He had mentioned, Anthony Davis was 22 points. Now, depending on what points you did, it changes your odds, but kind of he said a lock for that over on 22 points, which definitely seemed to parlay that with Lonnie Walker scoring 8.5 points or more, and he got stuck on 6. So didn't hit that parlay. If I would have just stuck with the Anthony Davis over 22 points, that would have probably paid off a little bit better. But
Alan said yesterday, I think he thinks they're going to split this series and head to LA after this, right? Like, is that what he said yesterday? I think
he said the Lakers had to split the series to have a chance to win the series, because
they've got to win. Is it tonight or
no? It's going to be tomorrow night.
Okay.
Tonight you've got the opening game of the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics.
Okay,
which is going to be another tough one for the Heat. But those South Florida teams right now are just hot, and sometimes just being hot at the right time can make you run through these playoffs, because most people aren't giving the Miami Heat a chance against the Boston Celtics. On paper, the Boston Celtics should definitely win, but Jimmy Butler is certainly going to have to put the team on his back and really make a big statement in tonight's game. And again, you never know; those South Florida teams are making some waves right now in two of the big professional sports. The NBA draft lottery actually went down last night too during the playoffs, just like the NHL one did. The San Antonio Spurs won that coveted pick, arguably one of the most excited first picks in recent history. With I may butcher his last name, but Victor Wembanyama, who's a 19-year-old from France. He's 7'5". He's got an 8-foot wingspan, but the craziest part, he's not a huge guy when it comes to bulk, but man, he can dribble, he can shoot the three. So this is a franchise-changing player for sure, because I just don't know how you guard a guy like that other than being physical. So Tony Parker was really excited yesterday. The Spurs are excited. They're going to take him with that number 1 pick. There is no doubt. But he's playing over in France right now. But if you get a chance, look up some of his videos and watch him play. It just doesn't seem fair at all. Mbappe gave him a huge shout out yesterday too. That's a soccer player, one of the most famous guys right now from France. So kudos to the Spurs winning that lottery to take them to that number 1 pick, which will be exciting when that happens. That'll be a very, very anticipated player coming in to the NBA next year, only at 20 years old. It's weird how the NBA seems to be pulling more from the G League and these other places across the internationally, separate from college a little bit. It's kind of funny how the NBA and I get it, because they're trying to push the G League and all that stuff.
Well, just think about, obviously this guy's a center, right? Just think about the coverage this guy's got in the paint. Oh my God. Yeah, like he's covering a 2-car garage, man.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, yes, absolutely. There's another beautiful Jay Henley quote, which are our favorite here on the program, covering that 2-car garage.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to get a quick update on Florida State. I know we just talked about it, but Luke Clinton's still hanging in. He's even through 4 under for the tournament, tied with Maximilian Steinlechner from NC State. And they're still hanging in there. I think, barring anything crazy, and I never like to talk ahead of time in golf, I'm looking for wood to knock on. But they're +3 right now. They're tied for second, 3 strokes back of that first. Currently, 9 strokes ahead of being in that 6th spot. So hopefully they can just play a nice, solid, consistent round today and finish out in that top 5. Again, at the top of the hour, we got Keith Fleming joining us. We're going to talk all things DraftKings, betting, PGA Championship, course, and all that stuff. I know, Jay, you've got to go play in a tournament later on, so we're going to lose you a little bit after the top of the hour. But wanted to ask you, kind of put you on the spot and talk about, the PGA Championship is it's a major championship tournament. It's one of the larger fields in the majors, especially when you add the 20 guys that come over from the PGA of America. But just off the top of your head, what are some of your favorite moments from the PGA Championship over the years?
Oh, man.
I know, it's definitely putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, they're Sean McKeel. Sean McKeel came out of left field and won it. In 03? Is that is that 20 years?
That was 03, exactly 20 years ago, on the same golf course that we're playing this week on Oak Hill. Yeah, he ended up winning that tournament. Nobody even knew who he was, and that's kind of how some of this stuff works. And it can be life changing when you win a tournament like this.
Hence my pick from last night. I mean, we're underdogs.
Yeah, Shattuck. I don't know if Shattuck and Sean McKeel are on the same level, but the funny thing is, in the picture of Sean McKeel, he's got the golf shirt on and it's going down past his elbow.
Yeah.
And how much fashion has changed. Even I posted that stupid picture of myself at a member guest from about 13 years ago. And even 13 years ago, it's baggy pants, big shirts, and now everything's super tight.
And you're throwing up the dubs, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We were handing out gift certificates and that money from the Calcutta and the players pool and all that stuff. But yeah, just having some fun up there.
I guess going back, I mean, I can go back into way history. I mean, obviously, John Daly, in 1991 or 1991. That's 22 years ago, or 90. Yeah, anyways.
I think it was 91.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
Retief Goosen winning it. The PGA Championship at Southern Hills in 2000. That was good.
That was a good one for sure.
Obviously, Tiger. I know you don't want to hear me talk about Tiger.
No,
but, I'm just kidding.
Tiger didn't say
that's good. But Tiger, obviously, that was part of his 01 streak. That was the Tiger Slam. Yeah, there were some memorable ones. And I'm not going to, the PGA Championship's great. I love the U.S. Open. I love the Masters. I love the Open. Just being honest, out of the four championships, this is kind of one of my least favorite. I mean,
I would agree with that. And I like it better now that they've moved it to May. Yeah. When it was back in August, you kind of forgot about it a little bit. And it's, the PGA Championship's here.
Right.
But yeah, that 1991 Open at Crooked Stick, I kept thinking Wicked
PGA
Stick.
Championship.
Yeah, PGA Championship. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Crooked Stick. It's a great story. And if it never happened, we probably all don't know who John Daly is. And the rest of his career.
Well, yeah, we would.
Yeah. But maybe not in such a positive light.
Right.
Have you ever watched the 30 for 30 on Daly?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's such a good one. That's one of the best ones.
I mean, I don't want to throw a number out there, but one weekend, I think he lost like $45 million in one weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he talked about it. Yep. I mean,
he loved to gamble, loved to drink, loved to rip heaters, and he liked to do it while he played golf. So,
well, in me going to a funeral this past weekend, man, it just brings back, you just want to live life. And if that's, I mean, he's lived life.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt. So I can't imagine what all the stories will be at his funeral, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Definitely. I mean, and that just the story in 91, he was the 9th alternate just to get into the tournament, and somehow got into the tournament when Nick Price withdrew because he was having his first child.
Yeah.
And Daly, he had to get to the course. He wasn't even there, and he got to the course. He had never seen it. He had barely got there, and then he goes out there and wins the tournament, and the rest is history. But just crazy how golf, you can have this one little tiny opportunity, and if you can seize that moment, I mean, probably one of the most improbable PGA Championship or major championship victories ever.
And what makes him so cool, and I don't want to get on the Daly kick, but Ryan, we saw each other.
Daly.
Yeah. We saw each other at the PGA show down in Orlando, right after Hurricane Michael, and I remember us seeing. But right after, during that show, John Daly was just walking the floor.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to see Tiger, Phil. You're not going to see and I get it, but you're not going to see them just walking the PGA, show floor and stuff. But I mean, it caught me by attention. I mean, like I'm, next to John Daly at the show, and I'm like, whoa, this is John Daly, like walking the show. John Daly is just him, man.
Yep.
I mean, it is so cool to
rocking that mullet from Arkansas, just hitting bombs. That's really when it first started. The golf ball started getting hit in a long way.
Well, and that was my first experience in '94, the Bell South Classic in Atlanta. That was my first tour pro that I watched, live. And he had a cigarette in his mouth, and
12 pack in his bag,
12 pack in his bag,
and just grip it and rip it.
But I remember, it was like the 12th hole was my first shot ever seeing live. He rips it down down there like 350 yards, and I remember going, whoa.
Yeah, nobody was doing that.
No, and his caddy looked at me, and he like smiled at me like, yeah, kid, like maybe you can do this one day, and obviously not. But
yep. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the history of the PGA Championship and some of those exciting moments. That daily one was definitely one of those top.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. We will be joined tomorrow by Chris Kramer, as Thursday's always Kramer Day. You're listening on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, as well as 102.1 in Mariana. Don't forget, our phone lines are open for another 20 minutes. We'd love to hear your favorite PGA Championship moment over the years. Give us a call, 850-215-6290. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue?
We know that under the 99% rate, the U.S. economy is
And tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you looking for a way to stay safe and independent at home? If so, then you need to look at Compassionate Love Home Care. Compassionate Love Home Care provides a variety of services to help seniors and people with disabilities live safely and comfortably at home, making each day the best it can be. To learn more about Compassionate Love Home Care, please call 850-628-8438 or visit their website, CompassionateLoveHomeCare.com.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Coming in hot.
So hot.
It'll be a hot one. Really hot. God damn.
The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. David was waiting for that perfect cymbal hit to bring us back in. I saw what he did there. That was awesome. We appreciate David running our board today in the show. And I know, Jay, when you leave a little bit, he's going to be chiming in on some of this DFS and PGA Championship betting action. And I know David's excited. He's going to be playing some golf at Bay Point Golf Club on Friday as well.
Yeah. Big shout out to Alan Watson, and I'll show you guys how to break 100 and not in the good way.
Hey, the good news is it's a four-person scramble, so all you got to do is hit a drive every once in a while, maybe hit an iron shot close, but make sure you knock in the putts. It's all about putting in the scramble.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I wonder if he thinks that I'm joking when on the air. You know, I have him on Thursdays at 4:20, and I'm always talking about how bad I am. I wonder if he thinks I'm joking and being, like sneaky confident or something. Not so fast, buddy. Just wait till Friday.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, Alan Watson brings the good vibes because in the PCB Chamber Tournament, they were sponsoring Hole 10. I had a hole-in-one there. He brings the good vibes. You guys are going to win the tournament Friday.
Let's go.
You're pretty much guaranteed, yeah. And there's a Bloody Mary bar to start, so all you got to do is have a couple of those. That swing lube gets you nice and loose. You start swinging with some confidence. It's because it shuts off a lot of that mental stuff in your brain that gets in the way. And
that's right.
If we could just learn how to have that same focus and thought process. And you hear it all the time, I play so much better when I have a couple beers. Well, yeah, because it turns off that part of your brain that gets in the way when you're trying to play golf.
Birdie juice, man.
Birdie juice. Yeah, the birdie bottles. All the lady golfers make their birdies. They take their shots from the birdie bottles.
That's right.
Was that the number one tip that we got from Coach Shomo yesterday?
Yes, drink while you play. I love it. I mean, you just got to watch out because it's a bell curve. You're going up, you're going up, you're going up. Things are getting good. If you get to the top of that curve, once you go on the other way, you ain't coming back from that one.
No, that's a roller coaster, baby.
Yeah, we see that. You get on the other side of the top of that golf swing lube bell curve, and
just like John Daly's life, just like a roller coaster.
That's right. That's right. We were talking about PGA Championship moments as we gear up here at the top of the hour to talk to Keith Fleming about all things betting and daily fantasy sports for the PGA Championship. It's pretty exciting. You know, we weren't on the air yet. We started May 1st for the Masters, which next year when we do the Masters, I mean, we could talk Masters for hours and hours and hours. But we got another major this week, and if you're a golf fan, obviously regular tournaments are a lot of fun and a lot of different things going on. But when it's a major championship, there's just so much excitement and so much glued to that. I'm going to throw one up in your neck of the woods. Back in 2001, you remember David Toms winning that PGA Championship? What was crazy about that one is what he decided to do on that 72nd hole. You know, he had I think a one-shot lead, and on the 18th, he had a one-shot lead over Phil Mickelson of all people, who finished second a million times. And I think was that at Atlanta Athletic Club?
It was, yeah.
And that last hole has got that water all in front of the green. He had a long second shot in, and instead of deciding to go for it and hit the shot on a par 4, he actually lays up. And then a lot of people are like, oh, because so many people have tried that before, and it's either worked out or backfired. You know, Tin Cup, the movie Tin Cup, which is fictional, on that last hole, Rory McIlroy drops that ball, hits it, or he hits the one in the water, drops another ball, hits it. Anyway, so David Toms lays up and then gets up and down for par to win the PGA Championship back in 2001.
Oh, yeah. No, and that's the other thing. The Regions Tournament was just up in Birmingham this past weekend. We did not actually talk about that.
No, on the air one time, we did talk about David gave us the question that Jamie Hale asked Kirby Smart about what golf course his game is, or what, I think he said what major championship is, or something like that. What major championship was his golf game like? No, what college football team was his golf game like?
Yeah.
I forget what his answer was, but it was a great question.
It was a coach answer.
Yeah. Right. Which, one of those stock coach answers that you got to give in those questions.
But David Toms was playing in this Regions tournament this past weekend, and a buddy of mine, called me, and he gave me the lowdown on the Regions tournament. And David Toms, caddy, I guess David Toms is very can't have anybody moving in his backswing. So every time David Toms would go set up to it, his caddy would be like, hold please, everybody hold please, and so David, I guess David needs everything just, nice and quiet, and, that may be a mental part of his game that some others. Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, Scottsdale number 16 for David Toms, he may fold.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you kind of got the old garden golf and the new garden golf, and
but can you swing with people talking in your back
I can't swing when people are quiet. That's why I'm a fan of music on the golf course, and if people are talking a story and I'm about to pull the trigger, if they stop talking, I'm like, no, keep talking,
right?
Because actually, I think when you're listening to music or your mind's focused on something outside of your golf swing, typically if you've got the muscle memory and the ability in there, you're just firing in the subconscious, which is how you want to play golf.
Right.
You want to play golf in the subconscious.
Yeah.
Another one, this is for the Tiger lovers out there. This is when Tiger's major streak kind of came to an end. He was 14-0 in majors when holding the 54-hole lead, but back in 2019 up there in, I want to say Minnesota is where Hazeltine National is. You remember Y.E. Yang? Tiger had a 2-stroke lead after 54 holes going into the final round, and Y.E. Yang was in the pairing with him. He eagled the short par 4 14th, and he went up by 1. He still had that 1-stroke lead going into 18, and I remember he hit it a little bit left off the tee, and that's when hybrids were kind of really starting to become a thing, and he hit that hybrid up there on the green, ended up birdieing right there in front of Tiger, and Tiger actually bogeyed the hole. So Y.E. Yang beat Tiger by 3 strokes, and that ended Tiger's 14-0 major record when having the 54-hole lead in that particular tournament.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it can't be perfect at everything. I mean, that's, Man.
No, and then, of course, speaking of Tiger, you had mentioned it. One of the best playoff duels out there is back in 2000 when he was going through his huge run playing at Valhalla. He ended up he finished 18 under par and tied Bob May. You remember that one?
I remember Bob May.
Yeah. I think this is the one where Tiger pointed at that one in the playoff. I think they still do at the PGA. They do the 3-hole aggregate playoff. Each major championship has a different playoff format. Masters is sudden death. U.S. Open's an entire 18-hole another round, which when we get to the U.S. Open, there'll be lots to talk about on that, especially the Rocco Mediate playoff when Tiger was playing on a torn ACL.
For all you guys born like in 2000 or 1999, this was back in the day when you had to pull the left sleeve up, to get ready for your golf shot.
Yeah, no doubt. Baggy pleated pants and big heavy golf shoes with metal spikes, most of them, and big baggy golf shirts. I mean, you can see it in the picture. And you remember the belts? The belts with the metal tip on the end.
Yep.
And they had belts have changed so much too. God.
How about the braided belt where you looped it through the...
Oh man.
Yeah, man. You were cool.
Shoot, now you can buy belts and cut them to size, and they got ratchets and they look all sorts of different ways.
Yep.
We need to do a whole show just on golf fashion alone.
Yes, we do.
May made that 15-foot putt on 18. I don't know if you remember that. It was kind of going down the hill, double breaker to make the playoff. And then Woods drained his 5-footer at that time to force the playoff. And then Woods birdied the first extra hole and kind of went on to win, aced off of that. And if you remember, he hit that putt in that first extra hole and he started walking after it. And everybody remembers the point.
Yeah.
If you've never seen that video, I would suggest Googling it because everybody just goes absolutely bonkers. That was vintage Tiger in his prime.
That was good, but the match play where he was competing against
Stephen Ames. And just absolutely drummed him after Stephen Ames was talking all that trash.
Yeah. But what about the putt where he barely hits it down the hill and he goes and shakes?
Yep.
Is that the same one?
Yeah, that was the same one.
And then the putt falls.
Because I don't think the putt mattered, so to speak. If he parred it, he still had won the match because I think Ames was dormy at that point. But yeah,
that was so
he
cool.
hits it, goes and shakes his hand. Cool, jerk. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But there's also been some other moments in PGA Championship history not so good for Greg Norman. Greg Norman just had some bad juju when it came to major championships.
Yes.
Guys holing out from bunkers. It happened to him twice, and just ended up losing. He was kind of known as the choke artist when it came to a lot of that stuff, and that's why a lot of people don't like him because at that point he started kind of blaming everything on others instead of himself. But he's always kind of collapsed coming down that final round. Again, when we hit the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, host of the 2 Off the Tee, which we hung out on the podcast last night, which was a lot of fun talking all things PGA Championship. But Keith is an expert, as is Alan, when it comes to all the odds, the strokes gained off the tee, the strokes gained putting, all the things that matter. In the golf course, Oak Hill, I want to talk about a little bit as we'll jump into it as we get into the next segment. But 73.94 is your total yardage. But that's not just on a par 72 golf course. That's on a par 70 golf course.
Yeah.
You've got over 3,600 yards, 37 on that front 9 with 2 par 3s and 1 par 5. That just goes to show you how long the golf course is with only 1 par 5 on that 9, and you're at 37.65. But just I was looking at a few things on Instagram last night, and a couple of the PGA pros were doing some live streaming and stuff like that, and just talking about how brutal in length this golf course is, especially your 3 finishing holes, 16, 17, and 18 coming down the stretch. You've got 458. Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But then you go 502, 497 on par 4s. Just to have 200 yards in, you got to hit it over 300.
Yeah, and that's if you're in the fairway.
That's if you're in the fairway, and like you talked about, fairways are going to be a premium at this PGA Championship, especially with the length of the rough.
And the fairways are rolling fairly decent, right?
Yeah, they're actually pretty firm and fast. We were talking about it last night on the podcast, but the fairways are firm and fast because when they renovated, they put in sub-air in the fairway. A lot of places just have sub-air in their greens to control that moisture and dry them out or whatever it needs to be. Like Augusta National has it everywhere, and apparently Oak Hill has it everywhere now because they've been sucking the moisture out of those fairways, making them nice and firm and fast, which to the naked eye, you'd be like, yeah, firm and fast is great. The ball's going to go a long way. Well, if you have dog legs and you hit it just in that right side of the fairway or you're hitting it through, I mean, when it's firm and fast, you've got to, not only now do you have to factor in when you're hitting on the greens in these tiny spots, but on fairways, if you're just bombing it and you're hitting it down the middle, but then it dog legs and you roll into that rough, that can be a 1 or 2 shot penalty, or 2 shot swing based on what kind of rough situation you are actually in.
I mean, we literally may see a whiff this week out of the rough. I mean, it could happen. I mean, it's amazing at how much rough they've got this thing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this weekend for sure.
It's going to be fun. The weather's going to be a little bit dicey as well, especially in the first round in the morning waves. Your boy Shattuck going out at 7 a.m. Eastern time off the first tee.
With McKeel?
With Sean McKeel, past champion like we talked about just a minute ago. But PGA Championship is certainly an awesome golf tournament to watch and check out. And the cool thing nowadays is there's so many different ways to watch golf. If you got 2 screens at your computer at work, you can watch golf. You can watch it on your phone. I don't know if it's going to be like the Masters. One thing I loved about the Masters app is every shot from every player was recorded.
Yeah.
So you could go back and literally click on any putt, any approach shot, any tee shot, and see that shot, which is pretty cool, especially if you're a golf geek when it comes to majors and just want to watch these guys be punished a little bit. So,
yeah, that's true.
I know you got to go in a little bit, Jay. Maybe just a couple minutes in the second segment, but what are your thoughts on the final score? What do you think that final score is going to be in this PGA Championship that's going to take home the win?
Well, kind of what we talked about. I mean, obviously weather's going to play a factor. Thursday morning, it's going to be 38 degrees up in Rochester. It's going to warm up a little bit throughout the week. Obviously you got, the 20 club pros coming in. Shattuck. Yeah. He's my angel in the outfield, man.
That's
angel
right.
in the outfield.
He loves an underdog story.
Yes, sir. And
18-hole Augusta National.
That's right. Yeah. But I think I'm
just give us a number, Jay.
Man, like 1 under.
1 under?
I'm going 1 under.
1 under, U.S. Open territory.
Yeah.
The back in 2013, Jason Duffner won it at 10 under par, and in 2003, Sean McKeel won it at 4 under par. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. When we get back, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming, talking all things PGA Championship. Get your DraftKings apps open and ready to go. Make sure you got some money deposited in there so you can plug in these picks as we're reading them off and maybe win some money like you did last week, Jay.
I did.
We'll be right back. Again, you're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey troops, Coach Manley from the Coach James Hale Morning Show. Now you can take me with you everywhere you go with the new app from ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going everywhere together. Tyndall Credit Union drive-through window. Hitting the links at the Sunny Hills Golf Course. Sorry there, buddy, didn't mean to hit you that. Testing the margaritas at Los Angeles. That's my best job. And I can take you to the outhouse with me. Some fun, huh? Download the app at Apple Store and Google Play. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. This afternoon and evening, there will be a gentle breeze out of the west-southwest, very light showers and a likelihood of thunderstorms, and 82. Light rain and a chance of thunderstorms tonight, about the same at 71. Tomorrow, possibility of thunderstorms throughout the day with some sun in the evening and a high of 82. The same at 82 Friday, and we'll have some sun. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Everyone loves gold chains. I mean, who doesn't? Gold always works. Tracy's Fine Jewelry inside Coin and Bullion Reserves features the largest selection of 14-karat gold chains, bracelets, pendants, and earrings you'll find anywhere. In fact, more than all the other stores in Bay County combined. And they're all on sale today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry inside Coin and Bullion Reserves. You won't find a larger selection or lower prices anywhere. Gold always works, and you can take that to the bank.
What you just Middlesex, Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271D in Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
You hear it first. Sports talk right now. Back to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
I know it seems a bit overwhelming at first.
Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
Something makes me think you'll get used to it.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
The perfect intro music for Keith. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. It's that time of the show when we switch from the morning to the afternoon here in the beautiful Central Time Zone. You are listening inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can listen locally on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, as well as 102.1 up there in Mariana, all the way up to Dothan in South Alabama. Don't forget, we've got 3 great local shows on ESPN Northwest Florida, all live and local in studio. No pre-recorded. People hanging out, having fun, talking about sports, and taking your phone calls. Coach James Hale Show from 7 to 9 every morning. You're listening to the Inside Drive every Monday through Friday from 11 to 1. And then don't forget about the afternoon underdogs from 4 to 6. And tonight, where will they be hanging out, Jay?
Dave and Buster's.
Dave and Buster's. Make sure you check them out. They're giving away all sorts of fun swag. And every Wednesday at Dave and Buster's, you're going to have half-price cocktails, half-price games. I don't have anything going on tonight. I may need to go take the kids over to Dave and Buster's, and especially on half-price game nights. David, Kyle, Amanda, Adam, they all do an awesome job. And it's not Bike Week this week, so you're not going to hear 8 million motorcycles going by in the background.
That was fun, though.
It seemed like a good time, and then
it's Jeep Jam, though, right?
Yes, Jeep Jam's coming up. That's the awesome thing. Up until the summer, lots of fun stuff going on almost every weekend here in Panama City Beach. But now we're joined by our regular Wednesday contributor, Mr. Keith Fleming. He's a writer for Fantasy Six-Pack, director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, and of course, host of 2 Off the Tee, which we had the pleasure of hanging out with last night and just having a lot of fun. Keith, how are you doing on this awesome Wednesday?
Man, I am very excited. It's a major championship week. If you love golf, this is, one of the 4 weeks of the year that you kind of circle each and every calendar year. But do you want to talk for a second about the draft that we had last night?
Yes, let's do that before Jay has to go play some golf. Hopefully some good golf.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, so we had a 4-person snake draft. You could take anybody you want. It's 6 players. It's going to be the cumulative score. We all agreed that if you miss the cut, you add 5 shots to their team.
I forgot about that until you just said that.
That's the other funny part about Jay's. But
yes.
Ryan's team picked first. He went Scotty Scheffler, number 1 overall. Then coming back in the 2nd round, taking Cam Smith and then Tony Finau directly after in the 3rd. Then Patrick Cantley, Xander Schauffele, and then Tyrell Hatton. Very solid team. I'm going to say Jay's for last.
Yes, please do.
I went 3rd.
Always save the best for last.
And this is going to kind of give you an indication of kind of Jay's draft being a little different. Picking 3rd, I was able to get John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa, Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, Patrick Reed, my main man, Alan, and co-host of the 2 Off the Tee show. He went with Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Max Homa, Joaquin Neiman, Keith Mitchell, and Sahith Theegala. And then my man, Jay Henley. He shocked us with his first pick, taking Victor Hovland. Again, because this was the 3rd pick overall.
Well, and for the record, Keith, we didn't have to stick to any price ranges or categories or any of that stuff. We literally could pick whoever we wanted to.
Yeah.
So the Victor Hovland, I really like these next 3 picks. He went JT. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's early, but this guy finished, I believe, runner-up last year or 3rd. So, I mean, that's not a bad pick. Matt Fitzpatrick's a guy that I really like this week.
Major champion.
Russell Henley, Go Dogs, made for tough courses. And then he goes Shattuck. And I honestly had no idea
Nor does
what
anybody.
He was saying. who he was talking about. If you go to our YouTube page, the Fantasy Six Pack, and look at the Two Off the Tee Show, or my Twitter, or Ryan's Twitter, I have the video of where exactly Jay picked him, and the facial expressions of me, Ryan, and Alan is absolutely hilarious because Shattuck actually went as his fifth pick, not his sixth. He took this guy fifth who won.
He wanted to make sure nobody else took him in that round, so he wanted to take him off the
You got
board.
to respect it.
Yeah.
What was the top 20 odds on him, though? Because we all made a pact. We would at least throw $1 on. Was it 300 to 1?
300 to 1 on top 20, yes.
Yeah.
It was, I believe, what was the overall to win? 300,000 to 1, I think.
But this backstory,
Maybe
that
500,000.
The backstory of Ryan talking about how the guy gets into an automobile accident in 19, he recovers. He goes through the Club Pro Championship. He beats everybody at the Club Pro Championship,
Which is not an easy tournament
Which
to
is
win.
not an easy tournament.
But
to
you're
win.
not playing against Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm.
True.
But you never know.
And you
But
can't select, some of the people that you could have instead of it. But I respect it, and I said it on the show. I'll say it again. If Jay ends up winning in this thing, I quoted it last week. I'll quote it again. It's one of my favorite movies from Billy Madison. I will say he is the smartest man alive. So,
if he wins our little draft thing, everything I know about golf and sports is just going to go completely out the window.
Exactly.
Oh, goodness.
But good stuff, and we'll be excited to follow that along. I forgot you said we did the you got to add 5 strokes to your score if you missed the cut, and there's probably a good chance you're going to be adding 5 strokes to your score, Jay. Maybe 10, depending on your boy Russell Henley from UGA.
There you go. Well,
but if he tops a top 20, and we're all going to be real happy.
I will say this: growing up in Griffin, Georgia, 1998, Griffin, Georgia, Spalding County school system had the lowest SAT scores in the state of Georgia. That same year, the state of Georgia had the lowest SAT scores in the nation.
This isn't it a great plug for Georgia education?
So that might make have made 1998 Griffin High School the not so smartest people in America that year.
I thought you were going somewhere.
I
with
thought
that.
you were going to flip it to something else.
I never know where Jay's going, man.
I love it. That's why he's the perfect co-host in here, because you never know what he's going to say.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll see.
Shattuck.
Yeah, we'll see about Shattuck. And
I will say he's getting more airtime in the last 24 hours than he probably has in his life. Although he had a pretty good press conference during the media room action.
Cool.
Seems like a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. You got to go? You got to go play some golf?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk some.
Get him well, Jay.
Hey, thank you, Keith. Y'all have fun, man.
Hopefully you win some money and maybe bring us some back.
Absolutely.
Play well. Don't break that driver I let you borrow.
Right. Y'all have fun this afternoon.
Thanks, Jay.
Talk to you soon.
All right, Jay Henley, our director of instruction out there at Bay Point Golf Club. Don't forget, if you need some swing tips, whether it's juniors, adults, ladies, beginners, professionals, whoever it may be, you can visit his website at golfwithjay.com. He may even give you a T-shirt if you give him a lesson. Those T-shirts are awesome. All right, Keith.
Awesome.
So let's jump right into it. I know you want to talk a little bit about kind of some of the storylines going into this PGA Championship.
Yeah, there's a few that definitely intrigue me. The biggest, obviously, is John Rahm. He's trying to become the 7th player since 2000 to win back-to-back majors, joining Tiger, Phil, Padraig Harrington, Rory, Spieth, and Koepka. He's currently first on tour in strokes gained, birdie percentage, eagle percentage, par 3 scoring, par 4 scoring, par 5 scoring, early wave scoring, late wave scoring. It's absolutely unreal. He's the first person since Tiger to have 4 wins this early in a calendar year. I love him at plus 750 to win. I have him in a lot of my DK lineups as an anchor. I like the $7,000 range this week a lot. So even if you don't like Rahm, say you want to go with Scheffler or Koepka or something, I think there's a lot of value in taking one of those top guys and then pairing them with 4 or 5 players in that 7,000 to low 8,000 range. The most intriguing story, though, for me, Ryan, is LIV versus PGA Round 2. You may have noticed the odds and the DK pricing, I think, is still a little off for these live guys. There's some real value in them, and you should definitely pay attention to that. I think if they end up having a week like they did at the Masters, we'll see that change, but it's going to be interesting to see. And, unfortunately, I guess Rory now doesn't want to talk about it, but there's going to be some drama. We know there will be between the two factions. Jason Day, I heard y'all talking about him earlier. Is he back? I think he is. His numbers over his last 5 events, he's gaining over 5 strokes gained total, 4.8 tee to green, 1.2 off the tee, 1.4 approach, 2.2 around the green, 2.6 putting. I mean, that's absurd numbers across the board. And they're even better if you look over his last 10 events. The more I've got into this week, the more and more I like Jason Day, because he's actually not on my DraftKings plays or my picks, but I think some of that could change come, tomorrow morning. Because, Ryan, I know you ain't gotten huge into DraftKings, but have you learned about tinkering, which is where you'll get on there, change like one guy, it'll give you an extra $400, and next thing you know, in 30 minutes, you completely changed your lineup.
Yeah, I used to do that, and then I stopped doing that because every time I did it, it would screw me. So,
very smart.
Got to stick with those instincts.
Very smart.
It's like testing, yeah. And if you don't have to use that extra $400. I've told myself that too. You don't have to use it because it doesn't mean you're going to win more if you use it.
And I say this in on our football show all the time during football season. It's actually less likely you're going to share a lineup with people if you have a successful one, if you have $300 or more left over, because the majority of people are going to use either right up to the the 50,000 number or maybe 100 or 200 short. And a lot of times it's kind of a bummer because say you'll tie for, do really well and tie 99, but you're tied with like 50 people. It just makes it less likely you're going to have a lot of people tied with you with your payout. Rory has a home field advantage this week. We talked about this last night, Ryan. I have a lot of trust in Rory McIlroy right now. I don't like what he's saying, the way he looks. I'm sure you've noticed, Ryan. He normally has kind of a bop to him when he walks, when he's playing really well. I haven't seen that this year, but he does have an advantage. He is playing a course that he's a member at. His wife is literally from Rochester, and he's got 17 top 10s in majors since his last major, which it's hard to believe, but that's going on a decade. And then I have a question for you for the last kind of storyline. What do you think about the PGA Championship becoming like a U.S. Open light event? Because they have definitely made the courses more difficult, the venues, the way they set it up. Do you like that or don't like that?
I do like that because I think majors, in my opinion, should definitely be a really good test of golf. And the PGA is I like how you call it U.S. Open Light because it's not a U.S. Open, which the U.S. Open is famous for making extremely difficult conditions. But where I think the PGA, you've seen it a little bit different, is the greens aren't ridiculously fast. They're fast, but they're not rock hard like the USGA is famous for doing. You got the long rough, you got the fast fairways, so it's very, very difficult, but I think it's in a tournament like this, guys who can hit the fairway and have good approach shots and give themselves that opportunity to make some putts. In the PGA, it's not quite as difficult as the U.S. Open where they cook those greens up all weekend, so you can hit shots and the ball is going to release off the green if you hit the front. So I like that the PGA is more difficult, but it's not, in my opinion, quite as difficult as a U.S. Open because when you start messing with landing spots and where people have to hit it on the green to hit close approach shots, that's a completely different ball game.
I completely agree. The term I keep using is it's tough but fair. And
Yes.
I think as a golfer, that's all you want. And we know golfers, especially professional, actually all golfers, are not afraid to complain about anything and everything. And the fact that we have not had many players complaining about these last couple of PGAs that have played difficult, I think again shows how well the PGA of America is making the course tough but fair. You can't go get it if you play really good golf, but if you don't, you're going to have issues.
Well, and that's how it should be. You should be rewarded for playing really good golf. You should be rewarded for hitting fantastic tee shots and hitting good approach shots. And a lot of times in the U.S. Open, it comes down to who gets lucky and not necessarily who's hitting the best shots.
Completely agree. Do you want to get into the DFS plays, or do you want to wait till after the break?
Let's hit those after the break. Let's talk a little bit about some of your other people that you think, from a winning standpoint, top 20 standpoint, and all those things.
So for winners, again, I like Rahm a lot. I have a rule on Colin Morikawa. Me and Alan both do. This was from us not taking him when he was 32-1 at the Open Championship when he won his last major. That anytime he is 25, more than 25-1, we're going to take him. He's 30-1. I like that. Ricky Fowler, 55-1. Really like a lot of what I've seen out of Fowler. He has all of a sudden kind of return to form. I love the moves he's made with his swing. In his last 8 events, he's got 6 top 15s. He has 12 top 10s in majors for his career. I think he really trusts his swing. He's gaining 4 shots tee to green, which is going to be a huge deal here, 3 on approach. And like for DK, which he's also one of my DK plays, he's 15th in the field in DK points, but he's the 33rd most expensive guy. So that's always a good thing. My favorite bet this week, Joaquin Niemann, 70-1 to win. In some places I've seen him as high as 90-1 to win. He finished T15th at Augusta. Remember, this kid's only like 23 years old still. He has made the cut in his last 9 majors. So I don't think his game's just made for majors. The way he plays, I was really disappointed he went to LIV just because I really enjoy watching him play golf. He's got a very kind of unique swing and finish. But he is just very special, and he's played very well at comp courses that I looked at this week. I think 70-1 is just insane. And it's, again, I've been calling it the LIV tax, but because he's on LIV, he's 70-1 to where I think if he was on the PGA Tour right now and had been playing the way he has been on the LIV, he would be 50-1 or maybe even lower. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
Tons of value in him.
Few long shots. I love Patrick Reed, 90-1. We talked about him a lot last night. He finished 4th at the Masters. And what I like about Reed is they're saying this is going to be tough. Scores are not going to be really low. That's kind of Reed's game, right? Like he gains 0.75 strokes on the field on putting on bent greens. I think he's one of the best bent green putters in the world. He's great around the green. He's got a great wedge game. And then what I really like is it's going to be windy and it's going to be difficult. He gains over a stroke on the field in both of those conditions of windy conditions and difficult conditions. So I think there's, again, real value. I also have him for some top 5 and top 10 plays. Theegala, 90-1, just a lot of talent. I try to find guys on betting boards that I think are going to eventually be much lower odds in majors in a very near future, and I think Theegala is like the number one example of that he's played so well at some of the comp venues that we've seen that it's only a matter of time where you're not going to have a chance for him, getting his breakthrough victory and getting a big payday out of it. He has 4 top 10s in his last 8 events on tour. He was 9th at Augusta, 6th at the comp course, Riviera, top 25 at another comp course, Muirfield Village. So just, I think, a lot of talent. Gary Woodland, another guy I like at 100-1, just has the game for this type of venue. Somebody who drives it incredibly straight and incredibly long, is a great iron player as well. I mean, I don't know what you would not like about Woodland. He's 4th in ball striking in the field, 5th off the tee, and 13th in approach, and he has a top 15 in 2 of his last 3 majors. Real quickly, top 5 plays. I got Cam Smith 7-1, Ricky Fowler 11-1, Joaquin Niemann 12-1, Patrick Reed 16-1, and Keegan Bradley 18-1. Keegan is from the Northeast area. He plays well on difficult courses. I think there's a lot of value in that. The top 10s, again, similar. Joaquin Niemann plus 550. Adam Scott plus 650, who I like Scott a lot this week. I like what he has done with his game. I heard you guys talking about Jason Day not playing practice rounds. Adam Scott did the exact same deal. Today was the first day he was going to play a practice round. He just said he did not want to play 3 consecutive weeks, being at his age. He likes to play in cold weather. I think there's a lot of value in Scott this week. Phil, 14-1, the top 10. We talked about this. Now, if he doesn't drive the ball well, it's going to be a tough week for Phil. But if he does, everything else that you want, Phil can do. He's a good long iron player. He's a great wedge player. He can get hot with the putter. Phil can, grind with the best of them when it's difficult conditions. So I think he's really interesting at 14-1 to top 10 and 6-1 to top 20.
Well, and Phil, when you won at Baltusrol, that rough, similar conditions, I would probably say out there. Probably the weather was a lot nicer because it was in August when you won then. But just wicked, thick rough and really recovered well. But I think you nailed it with Phil. A lot of people are going to be riding that Masters performance. And the Augusta National is such a different golf course. I mean, Augusta National's teeth are in the greens, and he's such a good short game player. But there is rough, but there's no rough at Augusta National. And if Phil starts hitting it crooked off the tee and he's not putting it in play off the fairway, he could easily miss a cut real quick just because getting in that thick rough, hitting those iron shots is not going to favor his game too well.
And there is risk for any guy you take this week that does not have a good driving week. So if you're placing bets or, doing DraftKings plays, I would really put high emphasis on driving accuracy. And the other thing I've looked at is if they don't have, good driving accuracy numbers, I'm looking at, how well do they scramble and how well do they putt on bent greens, because you're going to have situations where you hit in the rough, you have to wedge it out, and then it's can you get it up and down from there. So that's kind of the two ways that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That scrambling ability is going to come into play big time for this tournament. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're joined on the line by Keith Fleming. He's our regular contributor every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Time. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director for Fantasy Daily Sports Content for Fantasy and Frames. You can follow him at Keith Fleming on Twitter. And then don't forget, he is also the co-host of the Two Off the Tee podcast. Sorry, Keith. It's such a great name. I'm proud of you guys for coming up with that one. We're going to continue talking about some daily fantasy sports, and get your DraftKings apps open, get your FanDuel apps open, get ready to plug in these names, because if you want to win money by the end of the PGA Championship, all you got to do is listen in this next segment. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Head first slide, 2 RBI triple.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Bestway Portable Buildings, Dave and Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Light sprinkles and a chance of thunderstorms the remainder of the day, with a gentle breeze out of the west-southwest around 11 miles per hour, and look for it to be 82. Tonight there will be sprinkles and a chance of thunderstorms, with the temperature reaching 71. This weather is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs, with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC Network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at espnpc.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
Welcome to the Inside Drive, the next big thing.
It's a big, huge, giant deal.
Sports betting, huge reactions, your calls and real-time coverage of the stories you're following. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. It is a beautiful afternoon here in the Florida Panhandle. I'm Ryan Mulvey. Jay Henley had to go play some golf this afternoon. Must be nice. He just gets to come in the studio, talk a little bit about Chinook, and then go play some golf and maybe teach some lessons at some point. But you are listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We are inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios, listening on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, as well as 102.1 in Mariana, all the way up to Dothan. We are joined on the line, as we are every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Time, by Keith Fleming, who's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director for Daily Fantasy Sports Content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of Two Off the Tee. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Fleming, and you can sign up for the Fantasy Six-Pack as well, and I know we'll get heated up even more as we get closer to college football and NFL football season. We're going to switch right into, make sure you get your DraftKings apps open, make sure you got some money loaded in there so you can do some bets. Keith's going to jump right into some of his DraftKings plays that he's been very successful with since he's been on our show the last couple weeks. Keith, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, I think you guys are my good luck charm. Don't get me wrong, I was having a good season before the last 2 weeks, but it's gone to another level. 2 weeks in a row of 9 of 10 guys making the cut that I give in my article each week, and giving the winner both in the lineup and also as a play to win. There's nowhere to go but down from here, but I'm going to try to keep this train rolling this week. I mentioned John Rahm. I really do like this week taking one of those. Like, I think it should either be Rahm, Scheffler, or Koepka. Make them the anchor of your lineup, and then you can build around it because there's just so many good options with it being a major in that 8,200 and below range. Sahith Theegala, who I mentioned briefly, again, he's 8,100. Again, this is the first 6 plays are the actual lineup. If you can make a lineup out of these 6 guys, and then I have 4 other options. He's just had a great follow-up to an amazing rookie season. 4 top 10s in 8 events, his last 8, and he just plays a lot of difficult courses well. I love the way he played at Augusta because the one thing he had not done is played in a lot of majors, and for him to go in and honestly, what a awful Masters to be your first one with the weather and stuff that they went through. It was. I've never been happier to not be on the grounds at Augusta as I was Saturday watching the coverage. I think Theegala is somebody that it would not shock me if he ended up being in real contention to win this tournament. I talked about Joaquin Niemann a little bit earlier too, 7,900. Just what a great young golfer. I like everything about his game. He's got 2 top 10s in his last 3 starts on the LIV Tour. He finished 16th at Augusta earlier this year. So again, I know everybody's questioning, does it matter that these guys are not playing as many events, having the LIV schedule, 3 rounds. He proved obviously it wasn't a big deal. Has made the cut 9 straight majors, which again, when you're talking about, I have a lower or higher cutoff than most people do. Most people think it's like your 7,200 and below guys are where you need to think about, are they going to make the cut? I don't buy that. Like, I think that if it's 8,000 and below, you need to be thinking about, is there a good chance they're going to make the cut? And I don't like taking chances on guys that, they may have, 40% of their events top 20 finishes, but in the rest of them, they miss cuts. That scares me. Niemann is somebody who's always made a lot of cuts. He played well in cold weather, being from Chile, and I really think that he was there, if you watch the Netflix documentary, as his fellow countryman, unfortunately, Mito Pereira, kind of blew the PGA Championship last year. Yeah. And I loved the support he gave for him, and I just think it would be really poetic if this year it's Niemann that has that chance coming down the stretch to win, and he gets it done, because both of those are very talented players. Next person in my lineup, Adam Scott, 7,800. He found something in his swing. It's now official. He has been uncharacteristically bad this year with his irons, but he's gained over 6 shots on the field and approach the last 2 weeks. That is no surprise that he has back-to-back top 10s. I actually like, again, I mentioned this before the break, that he has not played the course this week. Now, he has played it previously, stated that in the interview, but he was resting this week. He had played in back-to-back events. Adam Scott's over 40, but he talked about that he was just working on his chipping and putting, which I think people don't understand. I've heard somebody say, well, he only did well the last 2 weeks because he putted well. He's been putting well for almost a year now. He's gained over 2 shots on the field, on greens, and about 60% of his events in the last year. That's like a top putter on tour. And I just think that Scott feels good about his swing now. It says a lot about that. He didn't even feel that it was necessary to go play the course Monday or Tuesday. He was just going to play a practice round today. And he mentioned that the cold weather doesn't bother him at all. that is something we should have brought up, Ryan, and I apologize. The weather is going to be a factor for this event. It's going to be freezing tomorrow morning, so I really do like the guys that go off late Thursday, early Friday. Not that it's going to be warm Friday morning, but I mean, we're talking about it is going to be cold tomorrow morning. They're talking about rain potentially Saturday, and I'm showing 10 to 15 mile an hour winds Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you watched any of the coverage on ESPN Plus yesterday of the practice rounds, man, the wind was blowing and the course looked absolutely impossible. The players were not having a great time. So you definitely want to also, think about players that play well in the wind, players that maybe have injury history, bad backs, necks, if somebody's had their neck fused. When it gets below 50 degrees, I just can't move physically because of, the surgery and limitations. So probably want to think about that when you're picking guys. I know y'all talked about Jordan Spieth, who, if he didn't have the wrist injury, I would be all over Spieth at this event. He's played great this year. This is the kind of PGA Championship that should be made for Jordan Spieth. But I don't know, man.
Too big of a risk.
He's also going for the Grand Slam, too, which is the other big deal. He can be the next guy to complete the Grand Slam. And then the two lowest price plays in my official lineup this week, Keegan Bradley, 7,700. He won the PGA Championship back in 2012. He's from the northeast part of the country. He normally plays well in events in that area. He's talked about how much he loves it. He plays really well at the TPC Boston. He's made the cut in 8 of his last 10 PGA Championships, so he likes this major venue with 4 top 20s in that time. He's the exact kind of player I'm looking for this week. He's playing well with a win and runner-up finish in the last 8 months. He is the definition of a ball striker. I think you could argue tee to green, he is as good as anybody you are going to find from 7,700 and below on DK this week. And then finishing out my lineup, a guy I really like is Seamus Powers. I have a couple of props on him to top 10 and top 20 as well. He's made the cut in 4 out of 5 majors he's played in, so he's proved that he can get to the weekend consistently in these things, which is great, including a top 10 at another difficult PGA Championship venue last year. I know it played a little bit different because of the weather and everything, but still, that was another one that the score wasn't quite as low or, deep as we normally see in these things. And he kind of has this notion, a lot of people do, about him, that he is somebody that only does well in Birdie Fest, and that is not true, because again, if you've made the cut in 4 out of 5 majors, and if you think about the winning scores at those events the last 5 majors, he's just got to prove that's not true. He's in good recent form of back-to-back top 20s, and what I love, we're on bent greens, and Jay, Ryan, we can all tell you that on bent greens, these guys can get hot with the putter. I mean, you can make everything on bent greens, especially they're just so much easier to read and to understand. He is top 20 on tour on bent greens, so I think there is a lot of value in Seamus Power at 7,000. He's in probably with Rahm, and Fowler in the majority of my lineups. The 4 other options, I got Brooks Koepka at 10,100. Just a reminder to people, Koepka had a nightmarish 2022. He was in a bad spot physically. We knew that. He was in a bad spot mentally if you watch the Netflix documentary series. And I gave up on him, and I admit it, and that was dumb. And thankfully, Alan, my co-host, was smart enough to be like, at the Masters, it's Koepka. Do you not remember what he's done in majors? If you don't remember what he's done in majors, he's finished runner-up at the Masters. So he proved that he's back, and a lot of it was just a bad year all around. In majors since 2015, this is like insane stuff. 16 top 10s, 12 top 5s, 4 wins. Since the 2015, his finish at PGA Championships, T5th, T4th, T13th, win, T29, T2nd, and again last year the T55, we know he wasn't in good shape. He missed 2 cuts last year. That was more than he had missed in the previous 8. It's why I really like anchoring your lineup again with Rahm, Scheffler, or Koepka. They're the only 3 guys in that 8,800 and above range that I feel really confident all 3 of them are going to make the cut. Cam Smith, 9,300. I know you talked about him on our show last night, Ryan. I was disappointed in the way he played at Augusta, but let's be honest, I think he finished T29, so it's not like it was terrible. And he just went into a playoff with Dustin Johnson in the last live event. And again, bent greens where guys can get hot with the putter. We saw it at the Open last year. Nobody can get as hot with their putter maybe on tour right now as Cam Smith. My only concern with him is he has at times had a real issue finding the fairway with his driver. I hope that will not be the case this week. That's the only reason I'm not going to have him in a lot of lineups, but I really like his upside. Ricky Fowler, 7,600. His last 8 events, I went through that, 6 top 15s, 12 top 10s in majors. I think Fowler is a really good play this week. And then finally, Gary Woodland, who, again, I talked about when I was talking about like to win. The big numbers here. 4th in ball striking, 5th off the tee, 13th in approach. Ryan, I think you would agree, right, that the easiest way to do well here is to hit fairways and hit greens, which I know that sounds extremely simple, but on a course like this, it's not. So I love seeing somebody like Woodland, who is top 5 in ball striking off the tee, and then top 15 in approach to the greens. He's one of those guys, if he can just have a decent putting week, I think he's going to be in contention.
Well, and he's a long ball hitter, too. And, you know, those guys that hit the ball a long way, they can dial it back a little bit and hit 3 woods and 2 irons and driving irons and stuff like that and still hit it out there 300 yards, but with accuracy being much more of a premium. Yeah, I love Gary Woodland as a play, both to, to top 20 and potentially win in a great value at 7,100 in DraftKings.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just some other guys. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, why do you think this is kind of unbetting related, but guys like, Adam Scott, Keegan Bradley, Ricky Fowler, they're kind of having this resurgence, for lack of a better word. 15 years ago, these were some bigger name guys. I know Keegan kind of came onto the tour and won that PGA Championship back in 2012, kind of in the early 2010s. But why do you think Scott and Fowler and these guys all of a sudden, we probably wouldn't have been talking about these guys last year or the year before when it comes to DraftKings and bets to win and stuff like that. What do you think it is about that group of, I don't want to call them older PGA Tour pros because that's not the right term, but kind of that that group in between, the guys that have went to the senior tour and then the young bucks in their, late 20s, early 30s?
Well, with Fowler, I think it's just his swing change. He has really changed where his club is at the top of his swing.
Yeah.
And it is so much more consistent. I mean, if you've watched him this year, it's actually been his putter that has kind of let him down, which is uncharacteristic for him. He was one of the best putters on tour during his heyday of success. And I think, again, Fowler battled injuries and stuff. I love, though, that he's changed his swing so it can be more consistent. And I honestly don't know why he does not have more buzz going into this event, because I don't think people understand how hard it is to have 7 top 20s in 8 events. That means every single week you are beating 80% of a PGA Tour field. To me, that shows he is primed and ready to play, and I think he really missed playing in the majors. He's talked about he was so disappointed he was not able to do well enough in the match play to get into the Masters this year. And I just think that he's somebody that, he's kind of fun. Adam Scott, I just want to tell everybody, he is like my guy. And I don't know why people don't understand. If it's a major and on a difficult venue, he's going to play well. He had 2 top 15s just last summer at the U.S. Open and the Open Championship. He finished 48th at the Masters last year. He finished 35th at the U.S. Open the year before, 46th at the Open. He is somebody that consistently makes cuts at majors. He's made for difficult venues like this because I don't know if there's anybody in history of tour that can hit their driver as long and as straight as Adam Scott. Because, if you watch the final round this last week, he did everything he could along with Steve Kim and a couple other guys to try to, put the pressure on Jason Day where he would fold. To his credit, he did not.
God, he did not.
And I just think that Scott is a really safe play. I would have not been on him if his irons had not had this resurgence the last 2 weeks. And I know it's only 2 tournaments compared to, I think it was like 7 or 8 before that, but I love that he said that he just was taking it easy the first 2 days. To me, that's somebody like him going, okay, I found my swing. and he's still one of the best ball strikers on tour. Can we talk about Day just a little bit more? Because I think that's the one guy that we are not making enough about.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about a minute and 30 seconds before the next break, so absolutely.
Perfect. I just want to say that Jason Day, it's hard for people to remember because it's been so long, but he was the best player in the game at a time that there was a lot of really good players. Rory was at the top of his game. Spieth was at the top of his game. And he became number one in the world. And it's been injuries, the migraines. Like, he had some scary stuff. And for him to battle back and then just to, again, see the way he performed on Sunday with guys making eagles, birdies in front of him. Even, we talked about, you said David Toms at the PGA Championship. He last week ended up laying up on the 72nd hole instead of trying to, granted he had, I don't know if he could have got there for sure from the rough, and he got it up and down to win the tournament. So that's one of the storylines that it would not shock me if come Monday we're like, wow, Jason Day has now won 2 events in a row, won his second PGA Championship, second major, and are we about to see another, 2-3 year spurt where he's one of the best players in the game and can challenge these young guys like Rahm, Scheffler, et cetera?
Well, and how awesome would it be? New York fan base in golf is always one of the most exciting. It's going to be huge crowds, loud. What if a Ricky Fowler or a Jason Day is in that final group on Sunday with a chance to win? I mean, it would be so good for golf. Obviously, you got the Rahms and the Schefflers and the McIlroys and these guys, but to see some of these guys that have, especially Ricky Fowler, never got a major, having an opportunity to make this huge comeback, gets back in the PGA Championship, the storylines could be really exciting this weekend coming up. Hey, Keith, we appreciate you every Wednesday. Don't forget, you can check out all Keith's awesome stuff. Check out his Twitter handle. It's at Keith Fleming. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director for daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of 2 Off the Tee. And don't forget to root for Shattuck this weekend. Maybe he won't shoot 83, 81, and we'll have some more stuff to talk about. Keith, always a pleasure. Your research and your information is top notch, and hopefully everybody was listening and they popped in those DraftKings lineups and enjoy the weekend.
I appreciate it. People can hit me up on Twitter if they ever have questions about their lineups. I am always happy to help people out with this kind of stuff. I love it, so hit me up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. We appreciate you as always.
Thanks, Ryan.
Enjoy the PGA Championship. You're listening to the Inside Drive. Oh, yeah, definitely. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back with our final segment.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The afternoon underdog.
Well, there's just something to be said, and I don't think that it gets enough focus on homegrown teams. And you bring up the Celtics, and they, because of Garnett and Paul Pierce being traded to the Brooklyn Nets, that's when they started getting all of these pieces, and then they draft Tatum, and then they draft Jaylen Brown, and those two guys.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
The road is yours this summer in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by and check out the Bill Bird Kia SUV family that is built for all-in adventures and endless possibilities. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.25% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort and safety and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind that you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $22.22 per month per 1,000 finance at 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7/5/23.
Barbaritos lets you say yes to fresh. If you don't know what to eat or where to get it, well, fret no more. Barbaritos is here to help with its healthy menu, offering 7 meals with less than 500 calories. Barbaritos has lots of healthy options made with farm fresh food. Your health and your family's health matters to us. Come eat healthy at Barbaritos, 23rd Street in the Stanford Station Shopping Center near Academy Sports. Barbaritos, food, community, people.
And now the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
We're going to have a talk.
Tell me what you know. Brought Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
It's a frantic noise.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Are you ready? Oh, is you ready? Ready. You say you ready? Oh, whole squad ready? Ready. Is you ready?
Bringing the heat in this last segment. I'm sitting here by myself wanting to party, and you guys are back there behind the glass. I wish I was back there with you. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Don't forget, you can give them a call. Call the Chevy dealership 850-250-1403 or give Kramer Marine and Outdoor a call at 850-851-0453. Awesome stuff from Keith Fleming. When I used to do DraftKings golf, I'd go, okay, that guy looks good. Pick. When you start talking about the analytics of top 10, stroke gains off the tee, all these things that actually matter to golf, it correlates to doing better in fantasy sports as well as betting. So something to be said about all those analytics and some great stuff. Keith knows his stuff about golf and really does a lot of research. And I'm hopeful that the PGA Championship will come to fruition this weekend.
Yeah, you got to have a glossary for some of those analytics, no doubt about it, but it definitely opens it up. And there's a lot of fun prop bets and stuff for the DFS sports on DraftKings there. Well, and I love some of the prop bets that we didn't get a chance to talk about is you can do individual round matchups between two players. And I feel like there's an I did well with that in the Masters the last major. I didn't even realize that was a thing. And then, you can kind of feel, and that's one I'm going to definitely key in on a lot. We talked about it earlier in the show. The Chipley Tigers were down there in Fort Myers taking on Newberry in the state semifinals. And at the bottom of the eighth earlier, they were up 1-0, but they ended up finishing off that game, winning 1-0, which, crazy. State semifinal game, and it comes down to a 1-0 victory. You can check out more information. WMBB, mypanhandle.com has got a great story about it. But Neil Adams, who's a senior pitcher for Chipley, completed 7 innings and had 9 Ks, and then also punched out Newberry's top batter in the bottom of the eighth before Connor Gooden came in to close the game off. So congratulations to the Chipley Tigers. They improved to 21-7 on the season and will face the winner of Holmes County, another team right here in the Florida Panhandle up there in Bonifay. They're taking on Lafayette. That game is actually live now, started right after that Chipley and Newberry game. So congratulations to the Chipley Tigers, and good lucks to Holmes County as they're playing Lafayette as we speak. And if Holmes County can somehow get that one done, we may have a Florida Panhandle state final all the way down there in Fort Myers. You love to see it, and how impressive is that from the pitcher, man? You're talking about the biggest of big games throughout your season. The biggest stage you probably have been on, going to that state semifinal game down there in Fort Myers, and you pitch basically 7 2/3 scoreless innings with 9 Ks. That's pretty dang awesome. So again, congratulations to the Chipley Tigers on advancing to the state final, and good luck to Holmes County as they are playing right now. Don't forget, this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., our very own David Hayes, Kyle, Amanda, and the whole crew down there will be at Dave & Buster's. They're live from Dave & Buster's every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. You can come by. You can see all the sights, sounds. You can hang out with them on air. Check out some free swag from Dave & Buster's and maybe even ESPN Northwest Florida. But the beautiful thing about Wednesdays at Dave & Buster's is it's half-price cocktails, half-price games. You guys always seem to be eating on the show as well. I'm always hearing you talking about nachos and all this good stuff. That's why I got to come hang out on. You come hang out, man. Amanda will take care of you. She's the assistant general manager out there, so she's always like, oh, have you guys tried this? Have you tried that? And one thing that we come away with every single Wednesday is that the food there at Dave & Buster's is highly underrated. Highly underrated. Having 2 kids that love Dave & Buster's, it's kind of a nice little adult getaway too. You can go get a table, hang out, have some drinks, eat some food, let your kids go play games, and just have them come check in every once in a while. What's Liam's go-to game? Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many there. He tries to, he loves the football game, of course. But I forget, it's the Kung Fu Panda one. I don't know if they still have it or not, but it's got I think they do, yeah. I've gotten the whole thing once, and he's still determined to beat that last round where you got to get all the little dumplings, which is really hard and fast. What about for Ryan? She's a little more easy. She likes skee ball, kind of the original stuff. She's an OG game
games kind of girl. So just, a lot of fun down there for sure.
And that's the best part about it, right? Is that they've got games for everyone, and on Wednesdays, half price, man. So come out there and let Kyle beat you in. What's your game? The basketball game.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite for sure. The big one or the little one? Big one. Yeah,
Big one. I mean, look at this guy.
Who even plays the little one? That was a stupid question. I apologize. Don't forget, too, the Mosley High School Summer Passing Academy is coming up. That they have several dates. It's $20 per session. They're going to have 4 dates in June, 3 dates in July, June 6th, 13th, 20th, and 29th. And then in July, you're going to have one on the 11th, 18th, and 25th. That's going to run from 6 to 7:30 p.m. That way we can get you out of the heat. That's for rising 6th, 7th, and 8th graders right there at the Mosley practice field, which is a beautiful field. Just $20 per session. You can do one or you can do as many as you want. Kind of a cool thing I saw earlier today. David, love to get your thoughts on this. We talk about Top Golf, and we've even got a Big Shots Golf coming right here to where Legacy Golf Club is. We're excited about that coming to Panama City Beach. Saw Front Office Sports was talking about, for the first time, Formula One is bringing an F1 arcade to America. Pretty cool. They're set to open in Boston in March 2024 with 20 more locations coming, but they're going to have 60 motion F1 simulators, premium food and drink, prizes, and special competitions. So I just saw that earlier today and thought that, with everything digitally and simulation nowadays, I thought that was pretty cool.
And those simulators are really cool. I mean, you talk about the airplane simulators, the golf simulators these days that people can put in their garage, and how realistic they are. I've never played on one, but from the reports and reviews that I've heard, they're very good. So, man, how popular has the F1
it's
over
just
here in
off,
America since Drive to Survive? So it is one of those things, man. I can't wait. Are we going to have any locations near us?
It only said the Boston one. I hadn't done enough research, but let's hope there's one down here somewhere. That would be really cool, and sounds like a good time. But yeah, Formula One is just blown up in the States over the last couple of years. That's for sure. Love it. Don't forget, too, you can come out to Bay Point Golf Club. David is playing in that tournament on Friday. I think there's a couple team spots left in the Indus tournament with proceeds from that particular tournament benefiting the Warrior Beach Retreat. That's I believe, an 8:30 shotgun, might be a 9 o'clock shotgun on Friday. And then it's going to be a beautiful weekend for golf. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up the following weekend. Don't forget, as our rates go up for tourists, you can still maintain your local players pass. We do it once a quarter. You pay a registration fee, get a free round of golf, and then you can come out and play for $70 a round this time of year, which is a great discount off of what our normal rates would be.
For that course, that's a great price.
And it's for our locals that have an active or that have a driver's license from Bay or any of the 5 surrounding counties, as well as any active military that are stationed, at the Navy base or at Tyndall Air Force Base, looking to come out and play some golf. We do have Prime Rib coming up tomorrow night. We do have some reservations still available. Prime Rib at Bar 72 is kind of a staple inside of Bay Point. We do it once a month with our Prime Rib coming up Thursday night. You can give us a call, 850-215-62. You can give us a call here too.
But call the station. Where's that Prime Rib?
Where's the Prime Rib? Well, you can direct them to Bay Point Golf Club. That's 850-235-6950. Too many numbers to try to keep in my head nowadays. Before we finish up today, David, want to get your opinion on with the Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC next year. There's been talks. They're kind of divide up the East and the West a little bit, and saw this one that had the West being Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas A&M, which the East would then have Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vandy.
So does this eliminate the rumor that it was going to be pods of 4 teams?
If they go with this, yeah, I think that would definitely squash that particular rumor. But that's kind of a definite defining line between the East and West, pulling Missouri back over the West. But I would quickly switch, in my opinion, making that West division a little bit easier than the East division for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things. It makes geographical sense. My opinion, I think you're seeing from a lot of the other conferences as well, kind of eliminating the East and the West as far as it goes playing in the championship game. So I would like to see that kind of become a moot point. But outside of that, it's gonna take a little while to get used to the changes.
So much is gonna change in the next 2 or 3 years in college football. That's for sure. That is for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. We may be moving to the giant super conferences down the road and just having college football be an extension of the pros with the playoff divisions and all that stuff, which, I mean, you got a lot of, it's kind of like, golf's changed drastically. Every pro sport continues to change, and I think college is basically a pro sport at this point, so the changes may happen, that's for sure. I've got to give a shout out to my Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They got the win last night over North Carolina, still hanging in at that 8th spot in the top 10 rankings. All your regular season college baseball, we'll talk more about that tomorrow when we got Chris Kramer in studio, is finishing up with their last 3-game series in conference, with the conference championships all starting on the 23rd, which is pretty cool. A lot of SEC teams, and this is when baseball really starts to get heated up. And I know we talked on Monday, David, about the college softball regionals start the 19th, which is Friday. They'll run all weekend. And then also got to give a good luck shout out to the Florida State Lady Seminoles, who will be heading over. I think actually they're probably en route today to Scottsdale, Arizona, to play at Greyhawk Country Club in the national championship. I want to recap again real quick. We got an update in scores on all the men's NCAA regionals. A lot of SEC teams doing really, really well. The Florida State Seminoles are still hanging in there in that top 5 spot right now. They're +3 on their round today, +4 overall for the tournament, with Mississippi State still hanging in at first at even par, but Brigham Young making a nice little run today, 7 under par for their team, 1 over par for the tournament. Baylor at +6, Pepperdine at +10, which is that top 5 spots. The 6 regionals, the top 5 from each regional advance to the national championship, which is a grind. And David, your Alabama Crimson Tide's looking pretty good. Almost finished up on their round today in the Norman, Oklahoma regional. They're at 25 under par, with Colorado and Texas Tech tied for second at 21. Oklahoma at 20 under par, as well as North Florida. Hopefully they can hang on. The North Florida, I want to say it's the Owls or the Ospreys. The Ospreys. Linda, if you're listening, I apologize. Her son Braden is a soccer player for the Ospreys team, and good luck for them. 18 under par, but Duke and LSU are right there. Got to give that shout out to Georgia as well. Georgia's doing is taking it to their particular regional up there in Bath, Michigan. 30 under par, 2 under today. That one's pretty much wrapped up. So it looks like kind of Georgia's guaranteed to move on to the national championship with Mike Small and the Fighting Illini at 22 under par. Texas, future SEC team, 13 under par. Oregon at 13 under par. And then Florida and Kansas State are currently tied at -7. Florida's got about 6. Some players have 6 holes. Some players have 2 to go. Kansas State's got 2 or 3 holes to go. So that'll come down to the wire to who cracks that last spot there to move on to the national championship. And got to give the Auburn Tigers, who are playing a great round today, hosting the Auburn Regional up there at the Auburn University Club. They're 3 under as a team, 2 under on their round today. Looks like they got that top 5 spot locked up. The round is almost over, but it drops off pretty quick. They're -3, Chattanooga +2, Vandy, the number 1 team in the country, +4, The Ohio State University at +9, and then Colorado State rounding out that top 5 at +12. So it looks like Auburn's going to be moving on to that national championship. Had a great fun show today, even though our great Jay Henley had to leave to go play some golf. Hopefully he was listening on the way over there, playing in that Emerald Coast Professional Tour event with some members from Bay Point Golf Club. So good luck to them this afternoon. Tomorrow will be our famous Chris Kramer Day. Also excited to have the Secretary of the PGA of America join us from Rochester, New York, as the PGA Championship will be getting underway. Make sure you head over to Dave & Buster's this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. to join the afternoon underdogs. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll see you tomorrow.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The afternoon underdogs.
This is an excuse, and it's not a good excuse to use.